Okay, so this is the Wizard. Import Wizard is the first stop into PC Stitch when you are importing a image. This is the most important step. This step is what's going to make or break your graph, whether or not you're going to have to do a lot of cleaning or a little bit of cleaning. So I try to do whatever I can do on this part first so that when I go to the next one, which is to actually graph, everything is smooth sailing. So this is probably where people don't realize it, but you may start this wrong and end up trying to graph and wondering what happened, what's wrong, why it's not working out. So, yeah, this is the first part. So, as I'm doing my graphs, I try to get an idea of what I'm doing, what size, blah blah blah. Obviously, I'm not going to do all three of these in one um, graph. So, the first thing we need to do is crop it. So, me, to be honest with you, I probably would use this first one because it's easy, straight to the point. I can always add colors later. But for show purposes, I will do this one because not all images are black and white. So I'm gonna do this. Now, remember, as I'm doing this, the size is going to be from landscape to portrait, but not really portrait because it's going to be so skinny and super duper tall. So keep that in mind, that measurement, size, and all of that definitely matters. Okay, so now that I did this, you know what? Let me uncrop it. When I go to size, this automatically calculates your size. It starts at the width of 100, and then the aspect ratio would be whatever the size is. So with this down here at the bottom, the aspect ratio would be 100 by 80. That's so that can kind of show you where you would be at if you wanted to make a blanket this size or whatever. And if I had put 150, the aspect ratio would be 120. So that'd be 30. Like if I wanted to make it 150 by 150, I would have to add like maybe 15 rows at the bottom and 15 rows at the top just to make it 150 by 150. If I did 150 by 150 here, like this, it will be kind of uh out of proportion. PC Stitch Import Wizard is going to take your image as is and calculate the size as is. So when I click this button right here where it says show preview, it's showing how it would look when you have to graph it. And yeah, I'm going way beyond right now. But that's not what we're going to do. So say if I wanted to make a blanket maybe 150 by 200, which is an average size adult blanket, Afghan size. It'll be a little bit more than a twin. So average 150 by 200. So 150 by 200, if I'm going to say I'm going to do this graph 150 by 200, I do not want this picture the whole entire blanket. I'm going to either want to add something to the top. I'm going to maybe add maybe a name. Now right here it says I'm done. To be honest with you, I am not going to add this I done to that. I might just have maybe the year 21 or something. But I won't keep it as I'm done because it'll be just too impossible to add I'm done and for it to be legible unless you're doing like 300 by 300, and that is just ridiculous. So what I'm going to do is next at the crop, which I'm going to crop it like I said. I'm going to get as much of her as possible without touching anything else on either side. Now I'm going to crop it. Now, when we crop it, it's going to be the size that's we add right here. So say if it was 100, in the beginning we had 100, right? So yeah, so 100, that's how it is. That's automatic what Import Wizard starts off with, 100, the width, and then the aspect ratio would be the height. So it measured, so it went from, when I had all three, it went from 100 by 80 to now it's 100 by 212. Why? Because I cropped it, so now the picture is focused on the young lady and the width is 100. So that means in order to get it the aspect ratio, which is the size of the image, it's going to go to 212. Now, that's not the size I want. I don't want that. I want the size 150. So if I had 150, of course, the height is going to go up even more, 319. Again, we don't want this young lady to be the whole entire blanket. So what I'm going to do is, and this is just some rough justice, maybe some rough calculations or whatever, being that I don't want her to be 150 by 200. I want to add a name and whatever. So I'm going to add the width as, I'm going to keep it as 100. So that means it will be 100 of her. She's going to be 100, but then the rest of the 50 will be whatever I want. Now, I don't want it to be 212. So what I would do is, being that the height is a little longer, I will probably put 150. 150 will leave me with 50, dead space. So that gives me room to add a name. So I would be able to have something maybe on the top, something on the bottom, maybe something on the side, and she still will be the focal point of the blanket, but not the whole entire blanket, if you understand what I mean. All right, so this is me basically making the image as I graph instead of maybe photoshopping and adding her with whatever. I could do it that way as well, but I do it this way because it's easier for me. And yeah, I think this is easier for me. So as you can see, this may not be the right size I need. I really probably won't know until I actually start graphing. But I've been doing this for a while, so I think this would be pretty good for the size that I want. And still leave me that 50 row space that I need to add whatever I wanted to add to it. And then the top and the bottom will still have room to add names and whatever I want to it. So, since we had cropped, we added the size. We ain't got to worry about nothing else except for this image looks so distorted. So the best next thing to do is go to floors. Floors is how many colors we need to create our graph. Again, this do not mean count red, that's 1, black 2, brown 3, pink 4, the dark pink 5. You don't have to count all of that. What I do is I tend to go higher. Even though we may only need 5 colors for the whole entire graph, I will aim higher because that will help this image over here. So instead of adding 10, I'm going to put 15. Does that help a little bit? Yeah, a little. But maybe I'll add 20. Let's see how that works. Okay, so that really did not help too much. So that means 20 will be too many colors. So what I'm going to do is go back down to 15. Okay, I went back down to 15. So now it has absolutely nothing to do with the size and nothing to do with the amount of colors. Because right now, we just need to make it look a little bit like the image and easier to graph. Okay, so now we're going to go to adjustment. Adjustment, where you have bright, you could go up or down, make it lighter or darker. And when you do that, it starts changing the floors, changing the colors, making some colors appear and some colors not to appear. So I tend to do lighter first. Does that work? Not necessarily, because if you look at the dress, the creases are brown when we may want it to look black. So it looks like, because the black on the original picture is kind of light, it looks like the creases on the dress is not going to be black, but we don't need to worry about that right now. So I'm going to go a little bit further down. That's too much. Let's try that. And basically, I'm just playing with it. So this actually may work. Let me go down a little bit more. Boom. I think that between 15 and 20 should be good. So you just want to make sure you capture the hair, capture the gown, capture the dress. Make sure that when you have all the right lines. Make sure your outline is clear so that when you clean it up, you ain't got to worry about nothing else. Because in the beginning, the hair was meshing with the cap and gown, and that would be a problem because you wouldn't know where to start or to begin. So let's see. Okay, so I'm doing it to try to make the creases on the dress different than her skin tone. We don't want her skin tone to mesh in with the dress, and I think this is perfect. Now, this does not mean that you have to keep those colors either. This is just to look at it to see if you need to graph a little bit more or graph a little bit less. So think about it. If you would have started graphing the way we left it after you cropped, and maybe at the size, and you didn't change the bright, it would have been a mess to graph. You may not have been able to do it. And that's why a lot of people say, I can't do this or I can't do that, because they didn't play with the numbers, play with the floss, play with the brightness. They didn't do that. All right, so here it says background. So say if I had a background, this right here will be able to get rid of the background. I kind of sort of don't really play with that too much. Because the old one, you would be able to get rid of everything in the background, whereas this is a little bit harder. So I really don't play with that too much. The foreground, same thing. I don't really play with that too much, unless I really, really, really have to. And 9 times out of 10, I don't. A lot of times I may clean it up before I even go on Import Wizard. So before I even import the image, I may make changes to the picture. But with this, I didn't have to do that because it already had a white background. So this is basically it. This is basically what I would do. And then I would go and click OK. And then I could start graphing. So yeah, this is basically how you do Import Wizard. How you start with the Import Wizard. How you play with Import Wizard. And you could get going from that. I hope this helps. I hope this helps. And if you have any other questions, actually, look, I didn't even know it was gonna go straight to there. I didn't even know it was gonna do that. That's awesome. At least I know that now. I thought it was gonna change screens, but yeah, just play around with the Import Wizard, and you'll be fine.